Hello, tea family. How are you today? Hope everybody is having a wonderful Sunday and keeping cool. It's about to get very hot here where I am, and so I hope everybody is staying nice and cool. As always, feel free to put in the comments what you're drinking, how you're doing, everything like that, or just say hello. I have a handy dandy assistant over here who you can't see is waving to you. That will help me with the comments tonight. I have my screen set up a little different so I won't be able to see them. So today we're going to be answering your questions. If you have a question, please put it in the comments or in the chat, depending on which kind of platform you're watching this from, and we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some tea today, but I am going to actually, let's see, there we go, and there we go, that's heating it up. I am using my office teapot again, and it does everything in Celsius. I could switch it over to Fahrenheit, but I always like to test the math in my brain. So today we're making a green tea. We are actually going to make Emerald Garden, and I will show it to you. So that is about 175 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. We'll add some Celsius in there for our metric friends, but that's what it looks like. Nice big green leaves in there. I want something simple today. We just got home from a very, very long trip, and so I want to keep it clean and simple and light today. I also am super excited to show this. This is a find that I got. A friend of ours was helping with an estate sale, and it is actually Dutch china. The baby turkeys. And it is a signed at the bottom. This is a really nice piece. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love it. I'm going to try it out for you all. There's a teapot and there's 2 teacups. I'm trying to decide if it's going to end up in my personal collection or if it's going to end up in one of our gift baskets at some point. Right now, I'll be honest, I'm leaning towards our personal collection. But I have a set of an English tea set that I'm thinking is going to end up in one of the baskets. We'll see more on that later. So I want to give everybody a chance to put their questions in if you have any while I make the tea. Stephanie, I understand you're drinking an iced Irish sunrise tea. So that is our morning Irish with cinnamon in it, and she's drinking it iced. Good for you. It's super hot where we are. So again, tea. You can use infusers even if you have a nice big cup. Just make sure it's enough. And my essential from last week, this teaspoon, I love it. Serene Sunrise. So the one day I'm not drinking anything with cinnamon in is the one day everybody else decides they're going to drink with cinnamon in. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we're at 73 degrees Celsius right here. It will not be long before we are at 80 degrees Celsius, which is about 175 to 180 Fahrenheit, which is perfect for green tea. I get my cell phone ready to do a 1 minute. Now remember, timer. This tea, Emerald's Garden, is just a mix of green teas. It does not have any freeze-dried fruit or anything else in it, so we only need a 1 minute brew on this, which is just nice. And I'm going to put that up. I love tea kettles that I can then very quickly move. There we are. So that you guys don't see cords all night.
So you're putting it up, but then you put it down.
This is true. I was putting it down, putting it up. That's a very Southern expression. You're putting something away. All right. Now we are going to do this, and I am super excited about having this. It helps if I start my timer. See? Just started it. If it brews an extra few seconds, that's okay. But today we're answering your questions. Please put them in the chat. I have some great questions. The first one I'm going to actually expand on quite a bit. I don't want to get started till we made the tea. So this is your last opportunity. Actually, it's not your last opportunity. You can go ahead and add questions at any point in time. But I would remind you today, it's going to be a delay. I am not seeing anything that is happening in the chat. My handy dandy assistant who's over here is going to be handling that for me because I have some notes that I scatter all over the place, and I set up the camera a little bit different. I just don't want to forget anything. And that's completely possible as I am ready for a really good night's sleep since I didn't really have to travel at all today. All right, as we count down the last few seconds, I'm going to do something else that you don't normally see me do. All right, there's our brew time of 1 minute. Put that tea aside. And we're going to look at that a little bit more later. Yeah. All right, now, I'm in the mood for a sugary treat, but rather than have a baked good, I have a tiny little, an actual teaspoon.
Then it has serene sunrise with blueberry muffin coffee cake that ground Battistoni recipe.
I would love that. I have been craving baked goods all day long, and I have been really good, which is why I'm going to cheat and add a little bit of sugar to my green tea. Not normally something I do. Good friend found some of these spoons out antiquing, and they are pure silver spoons. I have a set, and I love to use them at really fancy times when I have people come over and have a tea, just because they're so really cool. They're nothing like the size of a traditional teaspoon. So, okay. I love Serene Sunrise. It's such a light, airy tea. It doesn't have that bitter green tea aftertaste. And I didn't add, I probably added the equivalent of a quarter of a measured teaspoon of natural cane sugar to this for my sweetness today. Just wanted a little bit sweet. That's going to be my sweet treat. So we are going to very quickly get into our questions. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. First question that was sent to us. Can loose leaf tea be used in cooking? First of all, yes. I would always encourage you to use a loose leaf tea that is a higher quality tea than the dust or the fannings that you get in other teas. It's going to give a more robust and full flavor. Tea is not just for drinking. You can enjoy it. And in fact, I've even given some hints, and maybe I need to go and find some more of what you can do with your tea leaves after they've been brewed the 3 times. So that there's no waste. One of my favorite is to compost them in our garden, and it has really helped our garden a lot this year. We are not normally gardeners. We're more black thumb people. We actually have some great stuff going on in our garden this year. But you can use tea in broths and marinades, desserts, ice cream, cookies, savory dishes. There's so many different things that you can do. And I want to talk about just a couple. First, one of my favorite things to do is to infuse a cream, and one of the things you could do with that is make like a panna cotta, or I made a cinnamon quick bread. No bananas in it at all, but had a lot of the same flavorings as a banana bread, but 0 banana in it. And I infused onyx chai inside. Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. I gave it to a friend of mine who's allergic to banana. And I warned her, I said, it tastes like it has banana in it, but it doesn't have any in there. And she's like, okay. And then she tried it. She actually had to phone call me after she tried to make a phone call after she tried it. Because she was like, it tastes like it has banana. And I said, nope, here are the ingredients. She goes, wow. And she's a huge fan of cinnamon anyway. So that cinnamon quick bread is really nice. It would go really well with either of the teas that you all are drinking, that Irish Sunrise or the Serene Sunrise. Okay, so another thing that you can do with tea when it comes to cooking is you can incorporate it into some of your spice blends. So what do I mean by that? Well, we have our own dry rub that we like to use for barbecue, right? And then I take that dry rub and I turn it into a barbecue sauce, and all sorts of. So anytime I want that barbecue flavoring, well, you could use a tea blend or loose leaf tea and mix it up in your other spices with salt and pepper, and if you put the cayenne or all those ingredients that you use to make a rub for meat, whether it be chicken or pork or beef, especially if you use a loose leaf tea blend that has kind of a smoky note to it, it's going to add that smoky flavor into the rub, which will be perfect for when you're grilling or roasting, because it's going to come in and marinate into the meat, and bring out even more powerful flavors. So another thing that you can do with tea and cooking is you could infuse loose leaf tea into sauces and dressings. So salad dressings, you could do olive oil, a vinegar, especially a flavored balsamic vinegar. You could add honey and some herbs and the tea blend of your choice. Let's see, here I would go with something a little more robust, maybe a ruby chai. I might also do our lemon zinger. That green tea with the lemon and ginger would be an amazing addition. And then the only thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do it the night before, so it's at least marinated in like the olive oil and the vinegar and the honey, and any other herbs you're adding in there, and then mix it up and let it sit overnight so it can really hydrate and infuse into there. That would be actually a delightful lemon balsamic. So there's another way that you could do it. Let's see. Another way you can use tea leaves in cooking is to just use them in the baked goods. Now, you can take some tea leaves, and this is one of the times that we would say you either need to brew them really strong, or you could grind them until they're really finely ground and then add them right into the batter for cakes or cookies or bread. This works really well with any of the chai blends for adding flavor and aroma and just that little something extra that your cookies or cakes or breads have that others don't. One of the great ways that you can enjoy this is, like, say, take an onyx chai, making an onyx chai tea cake, mix in the finely ground tea leaves into the batter. It's going to give it a distinct or aromatic flavor. Now, I talked just a second ago about using tea leaves in cooking for sauces and dressings, and I talked about the dressing. You can also brew it up really strong. So remember, that doesn't mean we're going to brew it longer, because that makes it bitter. We're going to brew more tea to the same amount of water, and use that as the basis of any sauces that you have, especially any sauces that are light. You could do it even on a hollandaise, or you could do it on, oh my goodness, you could even do it with a cheese sauce. You could do it with a white sauce. Dijonais. We use one of our favorite restaurants that I don't even think exists anymore. Does a Dijonais sauce over grilled chicken that is amazing, and we've recreated it. And this, I would go ahead and I would add either the lemon zinger, or I would add nautical twilight and get a ginger hibiscus and add that to the Dijonais sauce. So there's another way that you can use tea in cooking. Now, obviously, you can also use it by steeping the tea in dairy products. So if you wanted to warm up milk or a cream or anything like that, you simply warm up that milk or cream, you steep the tea leaves in it, or you put the tea leaves in, you let it steep for the appropriate amount of time, strain it out, And then you can use that flavored cream to make a custard, a butter, uh, even in a recipe for something else. I know that one of the people that we have right here did something very similar with our onyx chai, and she made a cheesecake out of it. She made an amazing cheesecake out of it that was super popular, and the onyx chai flavor popped. She brewed it a little strong in the milk and then used that milk in the instant no cook cheesecake, and I am telling you, people still are raving over that. And that is just a simple way that you can do it that way. This is the kind of thing that's going to make your dessert stand out over all the other ones. All right, so that's what I have kind of with tea and cooking right now. Another question that we got, completely different, but another question we got this week is, what's the difference between a loose leaf tea and a powdered tea? So a loose leaf tea is whole or partially broken tea leaves. And I'm actually going to pour some on a plate. Actually, let me do it this way.
Stephanie steeps mocha mint in her milk.
Oh yeah, steeping mocha mint adds a great flavor. So you see, this is a broken leaf. Can you see that?
Yep.
And this is just a partial broken leaf, but it's really big. I dare you to try and do this with a supermarket tea where you pick up an entire leaf like that. Some of these leaves are actually whole or a broken leaf, and that is what we consider loose leaf tea. Now, on the other hand, popular in Japan, there's a Japanese green tea called matcha. And what it is they take those leaves and then they grind them up really, really fine. Now, typically, when you grind it up into a powder, you're going to get a much more intense and robust concentrated flavor, but you're also going to have a much higher tannic acid, and so it'll be more acidic, and it can sometimes become more bitter, so you need to watch for that. Loose leaf teas are what we think of when we're thinking of traditionally brewed tea, like I made today for myself with the Emerald Garden. And more the powdered teas that we think of are more like a matcha green, where you're using it in smoothies, or you're using it, I'm trying to think, an energy drink that you're making up, something on that idea where you're putting fruit and veggies and different things like that to drink as a smoothie or as a protein shake or something on that idea. Now, pretty much powdered tea, we're talking about matcha, but you could potentially do it with another tea. You could do it with a jasmine green. You could even do it with a black tea if you wanted to, but traditionally most people know the matcha because so many do it. But you could even do it with an oolong or whatnot. Now, they both have benefits. They both have uses. Watch out. It's how you're preparing it. If I'm making a smoothie, we'd probably want to go more on, think about a matcha. I don't really do a lot of smoothies. Don't have time for those in the morning. So for me, I'm going to go with a brewed tea. Okay, I get this question a lot, and I got it here this week from 3 different people, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it. How is brewing iced tea different from a cold brew tea? Okay, iced tea is traditionally considered that you brew the tea hot and then you let it cool, or you add ice to it, right? So it's a traditional brew, and then you cool it down somehow by putting it in the fridge or adding ice or whatnot. A cold brew tea typically means you're using cold water, you're putting the tea leaves in the cold water, and you're letting it infuse over a longer period of time, could be potentially overnight. It is going to make a smoother tea, a little less bitter. The flavor is going to be very similar but slightly different, and the reason for that is it's not going to be quite as bitter, but you're also not going to get quite the same robustness out of the tea as if you had infused it hot, because remember, temperature affects how the tea is flavored. So it's all in how you want to do it. Now, the other thing we talk about is sun tea. Now, that is when you've started it with like room temperature or cold water and you're putting it out in the sun and then the sun is warming it while it is infusing. That is a sun tea. So those are the three different ways. Those are the three different kinds of brews and how they're different. Each adds a great flavor. Each one is unique. Our teas are all brewed and tested for all three methods, so you are good to go regardless of how you want to brew your tea. I do caution you. A lot of people ask us about cold brewing their tea in the machines or hot brewing their tea in the machines because it's super convenient. The problem with that is the water is not infusing the tea long enough as it filters through, so you're not getting full flavor. And it's really hard when you use those to brew it multiple times because you would need to brew additional time to get the same amount of flavor. So not my go-to, but I understand for convenience, some people like it. That's where I always go to other options for when you need to quick brew.
Diane has a question about cold water. Let it sit on the counter or put in the fridge.
So the cold water, great question. Should you use cold water or put it in the fridge? I will typically, if it's hot first, I'll let it come to room temperature and then put it in my fridge. If it's cold brew, I'm going to add the cold water and then I'm going to put it in my refrigerator and let it sit overnight, staying cold the whole time. Did that answer your question? Please let me know. I'll take a sip.
That's sun tea or something.
It's so good. I needed the green tea today. I needed it. Okay. This is my favorite question that we got this week. Are you ready? All right. How can you choose, or how do you know if something's a high quality loose leaf tea? And we are going to show you. So, first, all right. Now you'll have to tell me, handy dandy assistant. There we go. Do you see bigger leaves on here? Now they're all completely oxidized and dehydrated, but this is just our straight breakfast blend. Okay.
Spread it out a little bit.
Try not to handle it because then I can't brew it. There, can you see that? There, is that better? So you see that they're big, right? Okay, we'll add some more of that later. Now, see this? This is paper with a metal staple in it. There we go. And this one is a green tea. Just a straight green tea. Now, first of all, what do you see? I'll be honest, I don't see green. I see a lot of brown, a little bit of green.
Little itty pieces.
Do you see the dust? Right? That is not the sign of a good tea. That is a typical supermarket tea. That is not typically what we do. So, let's look at, I made a green tea today.
Said birdseed.
It is smaller than birdseed. This is literally dust. I don't know. Now I want you to compare that.
Fannings.
Yeah, they're fannings. I want you to compare that with, like, say, I don't know, this. Now I realize, can you see that?
Yep, see that.
Okay. I realize that this is still kind of folded up. It hasn't unfolded yet, but look at how big this is compared. And now, hopefully without making a mess, can you see the difference between those two? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's where I depend on my handy dandy assistant. I can't see anything on my screen.
Well, I have to wait till I catch up to on my phone.
And look at the difference. And this is why loose leaf tea, you want it to be as whole leaf as possible. Now it's not, it can be very expensive to get completely unbroken leaves. So if they're broken a little bit, that's fine. As you see here, we have some broken leaves and we have some full leaves, but it's not like this. So,
is there a way to put the brewed leaves on that plate?
There is.
Without making a mess.
I don't know if we can do it without making a mess. So my assistant asked me if there's a way to do the brewed leaves.
That'll show how big they are.
Okay. I'm going to probably crush some as I try. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. There, do you see? I just put a couple.
Look how big those things are.
Yeah, they're really big, and that's one of the reasons why, that's what you can tell. So, number one, if it comes in something like this, where it's really tiny and compacted down, and it has a supermarket name on it, it is not going to be the best quality loose leaf tea. You want to look for teas that are whole leaf or partially broken is how it's considered. Not this. Because even if I tried to do that with this, like you see huge things dropping. Okay, I was looking forward to showing you that today. Now, the other thing to consider are tea leaves or teas that come from a well-known region. For instance, Darjeeling is a region, it's also a tea. Assam is a region, it is also a tea. Those type of regions, like the provinces, are going to have a more reliable product. Single source, organic teas for the most part are non-GMO. Anything added to it may cease to be non-GMO and may cease to be organic, certified organic, so you have to watch out for that. But those are other things. You're going to want to look for your harvest date. You don't want a tea that was necessarily 1,000 years old, because we know tea will degrade over time no matter how well you preserve it, which is why we do not have tea in these kind of jars for very long. These are very quick jars. We make it up, we hand mix it, we put it in this, and then it typically is in here for no more than a couple of hours before it goes into a packet. We just happen to be packaging up tea today, so I have one of these with us so that I could show you, and I left some in it, and there's about an ounce left. We'll get this into a package tonight, and then we'll double seal it. Even then, there is a time date on tea products. So
you also want to read the package and see if they added any flavors.
You do want to see, if you ever see any type of tea that they've added flavors to, whether they be artificial or natural, that means there's not just tea in there. There's some kind of sprayed on flavoring, and so I would recommend moving away from that if you really want good, clean, pristine tea. So, let me think. I think that's all I had for questions. Are there any other questions in the chat?
Nope.
I'm not hearing anything. There's like dead air all of a sudden. All right.
I was watching the baby.
So, I do want to talk about next week. Next week we're going to talk about food pairings. So, if you have any particular food that you want to know what tea would pair really well, or if you have a tea and you want to know what foods would pair well, I want you to go ahead and reach out. You can put it in the comments or in the chat now, or feel free to reach out over the next week. We have had a lot of discussion at events in different places that people want to know, oh, well, what would this be good to? So what we'll talk about is some flavors that complement and some flavors that contrast. And We will also be announcing our giveaway, so that should be happening next Sunday. There'll be some details on the giveaway because that will actually kick off later towards the end of July. All right. Any other questions came in while I was chatting, super handy dandy assistant?
Negative.
Okay. Well, all right. If there's no other questions, thanks for joining us. We enjoyed sharing some tea together and knowledge. And we look forward to seeing you next Sunday when we're talking about tea pairings. And you never know, there just might be an extra surprise. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. And we will see you all next Sunday.